Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to have you all with us for this webinar that we're calling It Can Be Done, Children's Sunday School During COVID. Many of our congregations have had all they can do just to figure out how to do worship in this unusual context where many of us are meeting virtually or through some form of social distancing. And as summer has turned to fall, we're finally beginning to start to figure out how we are going to do Sunday. We will present to you today some of the resources that our curriculum Shine, our Shine curriculum has created for you, Shine Connect and Shine at Home. And then you'll also hear from some leaders who are using, who are doing children's Sunday school in their congregations so that you can hear some ideas that are working for them. We'll begin by hearing from Joan Daggett. Joan is the project director for our Shine curriculum. So I will turn it over to you now, Joan.
Okay, thank you so much, Shana, for providing this opportunity for us. It's good to be able to share these resources with all of you and to hear the creative ways that your churches are using them and doing faith formation. As you may know, Shine curriculum is co-published by Minnow Media and Brethren Press. We have a small staff, myself, our curriculum editor, Chrissy Walls, and managing editor Rachel Nussbaum-Eby, and a wonderful group of innovative contract writers and editors who are passionate about faith formation. Shine curriculum had about 3 years ago was entering into its second 3-year cycle, and so we knew that we needed to do something new. So we began to reimagine Shine curriculum. But never in a million years did we expect that it would launch in the middle of a global pandemic. Now, having said that, there are several things that we put into place in this new curriculum that are helping, at least I think they're helpful in the circumstances that we find ourselves in. First, our scope and sequence is the same across all 5 age levels of the curriculum. Everyone hears, reads, and studies the same Bible story each week. Second, the spiritual practices are uniform across all age levels now. For example, everyone will be practicing intercessory prayers this week, specifically Help My Family prayers. How the prayers are facilitated may be a bit different for each age level, but the overall spiritual practice is the same. And finally, our new Bible story book, All of Us, God's Story for You and Me, and our junior youth devotional, Quest, I think are perfect for use in online and at-home settings. So when March came and churches began moving worship online, we knew that we had to provide something, some guidance for doing faith formation or ways to support families doing faith formation at home. So we went to work and developed 2 new resources to do just that. So let me share my screen to give you an overview of these resources. So we'll start with Shine at Home and Shine Connect. We wanted to give churches materials that are easy to use and distribute. So we created these 2 resources so that you can continue faith formation no matter the setting. Both resources are digital so that they can be accessible wherever your families and your teachers happen to be. The first product is Shine at Home, and it can be used by families of children preschool through grade 5. Churches that purchase Shine at Home can either print and distribute or email to all the families within the congregation. It makes use of Shine student leaflets and Spotlight magazine, our music collection, and storybook, All of Us, God's Story for You and Me. And you can see on the screen a sample of Shine at Home. At the top, there are 2 pages of introductory material telling families how it works, giving them access to our Pinterest board where they can find media connections, and then how they can make it their own, whether a 1-day, a 3-day, or a 1 all-week option for doing the activities. At the bottom, you'll see it's a 3-page session for each week. The first page has the prepare essay and the story summary, the faith link for parents. Then the session plan, sort of, if you can call it that, is sing and pray, read and wonder, explore and bless. And so families can do this however they wish, whether it's all at once or spread over several days. At the bottom of the second page, you'll see that yellow block highlighted. That's read, watch, listen, and that's our media connections. So parents and families, caregivers can have access to a range of media that they can share with their children. The second resource is Shine Connect. That's for those churches who want to do faith formation online using Zoom or Google Meet or some other online platform. Now, Shine Connect is free with the purchase of any Shine Teacher's Guide. You can access that and download Shine Connect for the age level you're working with using the QR code or the download URL that is on page 3 of each teacher's guide. I don't know if you can see it now, but in your teacher's guide on page 3, there's a QR code and information for how to download Shine Connect for your age level. We knew that it would be very difficult to do an online session for early childhood, although it can be done. And I know my husband does a short, maybe 15-minute online with his preschool children in our church. And so Shine Connect kind of guides teachers to do that. It provides an outline and tips for creating an online session for preschoolers using the activities that are in the teacher's guide and the materials in the resource pack. Now, Shine Connect for elementary is meant for a wider age range, kindergarten through 5th grade. And so there are actually weekly sessions for children in this guide, and very much works with our student materials and the materials in the resource pack. Shine Connect for junior youth, once again, is shorter. It provides a framework and tips for facilitating discussion around the Bible story and how to connect with our at-home devotional quest. There are a couple other things that I want to share with you that are new with this curriculum. One is our digital magazine for teachers, Companion. Teachers can access this using the same QR code or download URL provided in the teacher's guide. It has lots of tips and instructions for using Shine at Home and Shine Connect, as well as other helpful resources for teachers. A new magazine comes out each quarter, so I hope you'll check that out. And if you've used Shine before, you know that we had Faith Talk. Well, we have renamed that Shine at Home. These announcements are sent to families to help them reinforce their children's learning and continue the conversation around the Bible story at home. Just like before, these are accessible on the Shine website, and they're posted each week on our Facebook page every Friday afternoon. Each weekly announcement includes a read and pray prompt, and then one additional prompt: watch, listen, discover, make, and many more. You can find all about all of these products and resources and more about them on the Shine website at shinecurriculum.com. And so I'll stop sharing my screen here if I can. Yeah. And I am very excited to hear more about how you're doing faith formation during these challenging times.
Thank you very much, Joan. There are just so many resources there. And I can just think about just even picking up certain pieces of it can be super helpful in this environment. Let's next hear from Moriah Hurst. Moriah is one of the pastors at Parkview Mennonite Church in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and she'll tell us what age group she works with and how she's been working with children and youth there at Parkview.
Great, thank you. So just for a little bit of context, my role at Parkview is with children through, well, birth through college age, and we are a congregation of about 350. So I'm working with a range of different age groups, but I'm going to talk primarily about what we're doing or looking at with children. One of the big things that I want you to hear really clearly is that these are ideas I have gotten from all over the place. This is not all mine, so please use what you can. And I look forward to hearing other people's ideas in the midst of this as well. The first thing I want to say is that doing something is better than doing nothing, but be really gentle on yourselves. We came into this with lots of big ideas and are finding that we need to go small and go gentle. So please hear that with all of these other things. Also really important for us to think about what are our goals in doing this and to keep that kind of as something we are focusing on. So for us, having a connection between young people is still the big goal, and having consistent adults still in their lives. So the teachers are still pretty consistent. And then the relationships between them and the content are still very important, but we're realizing that we also have to approach that in different ways other than just our Sunday school time, that connection may be actually an important piece for us. And I'm also just going to put a plug in here for, we have done a lot of thinking about how do we do, when we're doing our faith formation time or Sunday school on Zoom, how do we still do that safely? So we would make sure we always have 2 adults. And even when we are in breakout rooms, that we still have 2 adults that are on a screen. And with that, if there are not 2 adults on a screen, we would record so that we are able to still have a record of what happened on a call to be able to keep adults and children safe. I am assuming that a lot of you know some of the Zoom basics, but that's one of the things I've found really important as we work with kids, thinking about your lighting, thinking about having 2 adults on a call as well so somebody else can mute kids for you or unmute kids is a really helpful thing. So you don't have to think about that while you're telling a story. Also, if there's something new that you're going to use, practice it beforehand on an adult. It makes it a whole lot easier before you jump on a call with a bunch of kids. I think about trying to curate the space that I'm using on Zoom in the same way that I would in a classroom. So if you can even see, and I don't know how many of you have me as a big screen right now, but I have a candle and a plant behind me. I still think about the space that I want to present or have using a background. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but maybe even being next to a window or having a particular piece of artwork that helps you focus and helps the kids to focus. Being really aware that I can still control my little box here in the same way that I would set up a classroom if I was in person with young people. I am going to share my screen as well so that the list of things that I tell you about, you have in front of you. And I'm going to speak to a number of these. We still think about how do we use when we're curating our space, how do we still use ritual? So we would, you can see back here, I have a candle lit. What is a little prayer that you want to use? How do we still create spaces and frameworks of structure for kids? Because that's so important for them in the same way that you would in a classroom, thinking about how do you do that on Zoom. we have thought about singing, and that is quite hard on Zoom. What we have gone to doing is that we mute everybody except for one of the teachers, and they would sing and have a song that has actions that everybody can do along with them, but that then you don't have the kind of feedback of everybody singing. I know some folks have just had everybody turn on their speakers and you just deal with the feedback. That's been really hard for some of my kids because they have sensory overload. You can also use your background. You can put a picture behind you. It could be, we were thinking about it as like the narrative arc of the biblical text, to have that behind us as a backdrop, to be able to use your backdrop in a lot of different ways. You can also get children to do that as well. So have kids take a picture of where they have seen God in creation this week and put that as their backdrop, and then that can be part of your conversation. Like that can be their first thing. This is the picture I took, and this is how I saw God in creation this week, or whatever that might be that would connect to your lesson. One of the things we found really helpful is to either do show and tell, that they bring something, or have them run and grab something and come back. So that kids are still doing some kind of active participatory, even though they're on Zoom. We've also, we are using bags, but we have either getting parents or caregivers to assemble something at their house, or we assembled them and delivered them to all of our houses, so that kids have a Shine Time bag that they pull out that has some craft supplies in it. It has their little turn-on candle. It has some little figurines that they can act out the story with. We even put different colors of cloth in there so that they can tell the story, just to help it be, again, a space that is special to them and that is interactive. I already said about taking a picture, but you could do a photo scavenger hunt as well and be able to share some of that, because we have this digital media to be able to do that. We have worked some with using breakout rooms as well, particularly with different age groups. Again, just be careful that you have 2 adults, or at least that's for us, in each of the breakout rooms. But that gives you space to, particularly if you have a larger age group together, and then you can break them out into multiple rooms to have a different age appropriate activity or conversation. We've tried a lot of like readers theater, or having people act things out, which helps them engage some with the story as well. I know that some of you are familiar with Children in Worship, which is a way of telling a story, and that again sets it out kind of in front of the screen. And we have found that that works really well and engages. Telling story just draws kids in. And so we have one of our teachers who, she set up Garden of Eden the other week and had little animal figurines and trees and just a whole range of things that she was able to then move around and tell the story, and the kids were right there with her. There are also a number of features, if you're using Zoom at least, like there's a whiteboard that you can interact with. So either having kids, you can allow people to draw or write on that whiteboard, to use that as a way to create interaction. And another thing we found really helpful is to pick a theme. So over the summer at one point, I had all the kids come and we had a pajama party. So everybody came in pajamas, they introduced their favorite stuffed animal, and then I told the story about Samuel trying to sleep and God calling to him. And so using, again, how do we invite them to be a part of it and buy in a different way? I'm almost out of time, but I'll also just give you a couple more. Thinking also then in the larger congregation, some of the ways that we're trying to engage others with children and still include them, having adults who are willing to write to children, particularly a whole bunch of retirees in our congregation, that writing back and forth to young people and children so that feeling connected with each other. Having children help with the story time in the service. So even if they're going to tell the Bible story or that they are part of that, again, we're pretty cautious just because of child safety issues there. And then I would also just say, whatever you try and do, play to your strengths. So there are things that you are good at already. Keep trying to do those. And particularly when it comes to like Zoom, ask for help. There are people in my congregation who would not want to help out with children, but they are very willing to be on a call and help me navigate Zoom. And I find that really helpful. And then also, how do you still do what you value, even if it's on Zoom? So for us, that's why I started with even saying connection and consistency and content are what we still value. And so how do we do that even if we are on Zoom? I'll stop there for now and hand it back to Shana.
Thank you so much, Moriah. When you have questions for Joan or Moriah or Lois, who's coming up, please just type them in the chat. And after Lois's sharing, then we'll take some time to answer the questions that you have for any of the three of them. Lois Huston is a volunteer faith formation leader at Fraser Mennonite Church in Malvern, Pennsylvania, and she has some experiences to share with us. So Lois, let's hear from you next.
Okay. Our church is a very small congregation, just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Our average attendance would be about 80 pre-COVID. It's larger than that since COVID, and people can come on Zoom. We have more attendance. When the building closed in March, we totally shut down Sunday school. It just stopped. And we did nothing. But over the summer, we decided that we really needed to do Sunday school in the fall. And since we had always used the Mennonite curriculum, it was just natural for us to use Shine again. We have about 43 children from preschool through high school. And I would say that we've been using this for 4 weeks now. And I would say about 38 children are involved every Sunday with the Sunday school program. We were very, very fortunate in that all of the teachers who taught last year, the 6 teachers who taught last year, were willing to continue this year with the same grouping of children. And that made it very easy. The connections were already made. The children already had a familiarity with that teacher, and they were willing to do it even on Zoom. So we ordered the material, all the Sunday school, all the material resources for the teachers. We ordered a music CD for every family in the church. We got every student one of the All of Us Bible story books, and any additional Sunday school leaflets or magazines that went with each age group. These were then distributed to the families in August. And our Sunday school program started the last Sunday of August. We also ordered the Shine at Home. We didn't want anybody to have any excuse for not doing Christian formation during this fall. So we ordered the Shine at Home, and I sent out that email to everybody, every parent or every family, so that if they chose not to have their children involved in Sunday school, they at least had resources to do Sunday school at home. Or if the child missed a Sunday, they could catch up, or they could supplement what we did during the Sunday school class. 2 of the teachers chose to keep those weekly leaflets that the primary classes get and send them out every week to their students. So we had the Sunday school, we had the church secretary address and stamp enough envelopes for the whole quarter for each of those 2 classes to save the teacher some time. And they felt it was very important to have that connection with the children during the week. So they send those out. A lot of the ideas that I have today are not all mine. Again, like Moriah said, you tap into other resources. And so I contacted all my Sunday school teachers and said, give me some ideas. What's worked for you? And really, we can follow the curriculum as it's written, pretty much, you just have to make some modifications here and there. You can't do the games and some of the relay. There's things you can't do, but there's a lot you can do. One of our teachers uses the Shine Connect, the early childhood uses the Shine Connect almost verbatim down through the plan, the lesson plan there. The junior youth teacher uses PowerPoint to guide the time and to share any visuals. When appropriate, she says she likes to get kids up and out of their seats. If the lesson can adapt to that, she likes to do that. In the junior youth, most of the stories are presented in reader's theater form. And so she has had her husband help her to pre-record the story, and he will use different voices for the different characters. And then she can play that during the Sunday school time. Or she said she plans to send out the story ahead of time and assign different parts to different students so that they can practice, and then on Sunday in Sunday school, they are ready to have a good story. Lots of our teachers use Pinterest for getting ideas and visuals to share. And that's been really important. I teach the 5th grade, and I really wanted to use the story cards that came with this curriculum. And I thought, how on earth am I going to use those? And so I took pictures of all of them, and I put them on a PowerPoint, and I use a slide presentation every Sunday showing the appropriate number of pictures and reading what's on the back of the card. I can't lay them out the way they would like them to be laid out, but I can use them, and it helps to connect the stories, and it's a good review of the lessons that we've done. 2 of the other primary teachers are also using those cards in the same way. As Moriah mentioned, sort of a scavenger hunt type thing is always helpful to get the kids up and moving. During the lesson on Abram and Sarai, when they went on a journey, one of the teachers said, go get 3 things that you would take if you were going on a trip and bring them back and share them with us. And last Sunday we had the story of Joseph, and he got this special coat. So I asked the kids, what do you have that is really, really special? And if you can, go get it and bring it back and share it with us. And that's a way to get them involved and learn to know each other too, and make those connections. It's valuable in many ways. The leaflets that they sent out each week often include personal notes, and they may include some craft supplies, something to get ready for the next Sunday. When there was a story of Isaac's birth and he was being named, the teacher took a card and wrote every child's name on the card with their name, the meaning of their name underneath it, then asked the child to decorate that and share it on Sunday when they got together in class. Just another way to connect and keep them involved. Play music. Moriah said about singing. You can also play the CD that comes with the curriculum. My daughter taught me how to type up the words and embed the song into that file. And so I mute everybody and I can play that song. And they help me, because if they can't hear it, they'll say, I can't hear it, you know. And so then I have to back out, because this is all new technology for this old lady here. And also use motions. Shine has, on their website, has motions for every one of the songs that's on that CD. And that's another way to use to get the children to move and be active. You can use motions for prayers or songs. You can use the motions that Shine, or you can make your own motions, or perhaps you have a motion that you want to use every Sunday to greet people or to say goodbye. You can create your own classroom motions. The preschool teacher uses little people to tell the story. And she moves the webcam so that the children only see the story characters, not her. They don't see her when she's telling the story. And that really engages them. And she said, sometimes I exaggerate the story just to make it more fun for them as I'm telling the story. She also incorporates dance. And this is something she did with her children last year when they were meeting in person. And she said they loved it. And so she still uses it. She will put on one of the songs from the CD and they all get up and dance. Now, I'm not going to try that with my 5th graders, but it works really well for preschoolers. Depending on the size of the class, you're probably going to want to mute everybody. It can be very distracting with background noise or the kids themselves. And even kindergarten and 1st graders know how to unmute themselves now when it's time for them to speak. We haven't encountered this yet at Fraser, but like Moriah said, it's good to have 2 people on. And I know other churches have used just for the protection policy, but also you might have a teacher who is willing to teach, but doesn't want to deal with the technology. Then there might be somebody else who's really technologically savvy who could work with that teacher, and they could take care of all the technical aspects of Sunday school, and the teacher can just work on leading the class. That would require some coordination with the 2 adults beforehand, but well worth the effort, so that class can go smoother and the teacher can just concentrate on teaching the lesson. I would say that we communicate with our parents more in this format than we have ever done before. Many of the teachers send out an email after class on Sunday and saying, here's what we did and here's what you can do during the week. Menno Media in the Shine curriculum has media connections for every lesson. And I often look all of those up and see what they are. Sometimes I use them in class, but I often include a link to those in my email to the parents as something that they can do while they're during the week with their student. Our pastor also sends out a newsletter every Tuesday, an e-newsletter, and I include the announcements that Shine puts out in there. So if our parents are reading, they have every opportunity to know what's happening in Sunday school and build on that in their homes. You can expect to have issues arise when you try this, and you just have to meet them and deal with them as they come. We thought that our kindergarten teacher said, I won't need more than 15 minutes with my kindergarten kids. Well, she can't get it all done in her 15 minutes. And the way we have set up our timing, our church is 9:30 and usually ends at 10:30. We have live Zoom service. So at 10:45, the kindergarten and the preschool class starts. At 11 o'clock, the older kids start. Well, some of the families don't have enough devices. So the older child is waiting for the kindergarten kid to get off so they can get on at 11. And the kindergarten teacher is saying, I really could use more time. So we're going to look at that this week and see what we can do about that. So there's always things that we will meet and deal with as they come up. But we're still learning. We've been doing Shine for only 4 weeks. So we have a lot to go, but I'm excited about what can happen. And I'm excited to see what innovative ways we can find going forward. And I just hope and pray that more churches make the effort to share God's story in this way during whatever format you find works for your church. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lois. Well, I want to welcome all of you to ask whatever questions you might have for Joan or Moriah or Lois. The first question that we have is this one. How are you addressing the challenge of finding time to meet virtually with all of these groups routinely? We are struggling to find times to meet with the children, the junior high and the senior high, while the parents are also meeting with their Sunday school classes. Most households do not have enough slots in their schedules, nor screens or bandwidth to meet all during Sunday mornings. So Moriah or Lois, do either one of you want to answer that?
I can respond with how we are working at that. One thing, I have had parents meetings with all of the different age groups so that we're just putting expectations very clearly on the table with each of those. So met with the senior high youth, met with the junior high youth, met with the parents of children, and to talk through some of these, how do we deal with these realities, and even how many screens do you have in your house? Do you want people on at the same time? What kind of flexibility do you have? We have gone to having most of our children together to start with, and then they go into breakout rooms. So for the most part, you only need 1 or 2 screens per household that way. And then having them meet before our church time, which I don't know, there's so many ranges of how people are even doing the church time. We live stream over YouTube. And then the junior youth meets after church. And we have moved our senior high youth to having a Bible study midweek. And that's our faith formation time instead of trying to have a Sunday school with them. And are trying to work around parents getting to their classes, knowing that for our little ones at least, the parents need to be there to help them get on. Even though some of the little ones know how to navigate, they still need parents to help them get onto a screen. So that's some of how we're dealing with it. I know it's complex, and trying to deal with even the bandwidth issue is definitely there as well. I don't know about for others.
Yeah, we, the adults do not meet Sunday morning. There is a Sunday evening meeting at 7 o'clock that adults can come to, and quite a few of them are involved in small groups that meet during the week. So adult Sunday school hasn't really picked up as it was in previously. So that hasn't been a conflict with our timing. So far, it's worked for us.
Other questions? If you would like to simply unmute yourself and ask the question, you're welcome to do so.
Does this Sunday school then take place of something during the worship hour? Or do you also have something for children during the worship hour? I'm thinking like during your whole church worship hour.
I'll respond to that first. During our worship time, we always have a children's moment, a story or something that relates to the topic of the sermon for that day. It often usually happens before scripture reading and the sermon. And at times, not always, but sometimes we'll ask the children to do something during the worship service. Draw a picture of this, or think about what it is that you like about yourself that God made or something, and share it with us during our caring and sharing lately. So the children are involved in that way in worship service. We also try to include them in reading scripture occasionally or doing a prelude so that they feel like they are valued and a part. But that Sunday school is in addition to what they do in service.
We would be similar, that we would have a children's time during the service, and that Sunday school is something special for them. Again, we have run into or have had some pretty active conversations around how do we still protect children's privacy, again, because we are live streaming. And so being really careful about how we use names along with images. So if your congregation hasn't thought about that, I encourage you to think about it. Even we publish part of our bulletin online on our webpage with the live stream link. And we have gone to using a different bulletin that goes public versus the one that is shared within the congregation, because I'm not willing to have children's names published next, their first and last name published next to their image. But even how we speak about or speak to children, if their image is being used in a video, that is going to be online then. So just encourage you to think about those issues.
I have a question for Joan about teacher's guides for digital purchase. This is from a Canadian for whom the shipping cost of the physical guides is expensive. So she's wondering if the teacher's guides can be purchased digitally.
Mhm. Yes, you'll find some changes coming up for the winter quarter because sometimes it is not feasible now to always print everything. So our teachers' guides in the winter quarter will be going all digital. So you will purchase a digital teacher's guide for the winter, and that should help our Canadian folks. Our resource packs are also going to be digital for the winter quarter. We're readapting those, making them so that you can share them easily on screen. So you will have the opportunity to purchase those in digital form.
Thank you. I was wondering if you would want to elaborate a little bit on what people can find on the Shine Pinterest page.
Yes, we've had a Pinterest page for several years, and we use that really to curate all the media connections. You'll find a board for each quarter that has all the media connections on it. And then we have other boards where our curriculum editor has gathered material like for Advent and Christmas. There's a board on creation, just different ones that you can go on there and you can find teaching tips, bulletin boards, all kinds of things for your teachers.
All right, thank you. The question was raised, how can children be included in Zoom worship services? I'm aware that there are a number of people on this participating in this webinar who have some experience with that. And so if you're one of those folks and you have an idea that hasn't been shared here, I want to invite you to share that now.
Okay, I'll jump in. You can always pre-record things on Zoom and then just play them even as part of a Zoom service. I had a Zoom conversation with my grade 3 to 5s last spring where we were all building with Lego. It was all boys. So we were all building with Lego and we were talking about how do you build the church. And so I had sort of talked to them a little bit ahead of time so I knew where the conversation might go, but we just recorded that conversation. And then when it came time during the service, we played the conversation. My experience so far has been that kids are less willing to speak up in a Zoom conversation in live, so to speak. But if they are, if it's a small group ahead of time, they are okay. And plus we can practice it a couple of times and then they can decide which version they like best. So that's my suggestion.
We've been using the Bible story from the Shine lesson for our children's time in worship. I work with a multicultural congregation and most of my children do not engage with Sunday school through Zoom. So I make sure they have the material at home, the curriculum. I deliver it or mail it. And then we do the story as part of our children's time during worship. And our worship with this particular group, we have 2 worship services, but most of the children are from the second service, which is streamed live, and that's how they engage. So sometimes I even record that story ahead of time through Zoom and then send it to the technician who will play it during the service.
On Palm Sunday, we usually parade around the church with palms, and since we couldn't do that, obviously, this year, we asked families to send in videos of them celebrating Palm Sunday in some way. And then we had somebody put it all together with music, and we had a Palm Sunday parade via video, and then we showed it during our Zoom Sunday school time. I mean, our Zoom church service. We've also used them in having all the kids who played an instrument played a piece, recorded it, sent it in. We don't do that very often. It takes a long time to put that all together so that it sounds decent. But we've used children in that way as well.
I was just in a conversation this afternoon. We were talking about the importance of children seeing themselves in the worship services, perhaps in a video that they've contributed to. It makes them feel included and part of the congregation. Well, I want to shift a little bit and invite you participants to share any additional ideas that have worked for you with regard to offering children's Sunday school during this time. We have all kinds of different circumstances that we're offering Sunday school in, sometimes online, sometimes outdoors. Perhaps none of the above, perhaps by equipping families to do it at home. So I want to open it up here for your sharing of what is working for you.
Yeah, in the church that I'm a part of, many of our families are not interested in having their kids on screens any more than possible. So we, over the summer, have been meeting outdoors, socially distanced. We have big circles spray painted on the ground, and we'll share the story using the Shine curriculum with the kids. But then we encourage each family to go home and to retell the story in some way themselves. We simplified it down about as simple as it can go. We include some wondering questions that they can talk about. Well, the families would then draw whatever they have thought of from the story each day. So that's how we're doing it right now.
Thank you, Sarah.
I would just say another thing that I was thinking of is that we are really shifting our thinking to how are we resourcing parents, but knowing that parents are feeling very overwhelmed. And so how do we make that as easy as possible? So even like the bags that I delivered to people, some of those are supplies they probably would have had in their houses. But if I would ask parents at this point to like, get a shoebox and put crayons in it and get some like toys and, you know, figurines, and I want you to have some other craft supplies, it wouldn't happen. And even if I would give them resources right now, like they don't have the bandwidth. So figuring out what is it that I can make it easy and bite-sized pieces so that they can still be doing stuff, and giving some resources that say, here's a little thing you could do each day, just like when you sit down for a meal, and or trying to also equip in other ways of saying, this is a website I'm finding really helpful that has these kind of resources if you're having these conversations with your kids, or here's a webinar on this. How do you, and so thinking about how am I resourcing parents in some other ways. And another note, just when I thought of when you have kids on Zoom, I also am finding it's a whole lot easier if I have specific questions that everybody responds to. Discussion as such doesn't really happen, so it needs to be like a question that everybody, like we go around and everyone responds to, and doing a lot of the kind of saying, okay, so Joan, you're going to talk next, and then Miriam's after that. Okay, great. Miriam, you're going to talk next, and then Barbara's after that. So being fairly directive sometimes in those conversations.
One of the things we've done in our congregation, we haven't instituted Sunday school yet for kids, and we're still thinking about how we can do that. But back in August, before school started, we decided we were going to hook up every student with a prayer partner. So from preschool through college, we asked adults to come forward, and we matched up more than 50 kids and young adults with prayer partners. And it isn't a steep curve. We've said a minimum of once a month checking in. And you can do that anyway: email, text, phone call, a snail mail letter, whatever. And so I think that has created some, what should I say, connection that we were really missing. And hopefully it's a small step. It feels like just a little bit, but we're trying to find ways to be connected with all ages. And I think it's good for the adults too.
Wonderful, thank you. It's a great idea.
Something I've done with kids is thumbs up, thumbs down, with a series of statements or things that they like or don't like, as a way of building community and involving the kids. Another thing that I think would work well with Zoom Sunday School is puppets.
Back in the spring, when our congregation was no longer meeting, we decided we have a very small Sunday school, so we decided to videotape the story and some songs, just like Shine did for that spring quarter. What we found is the parents love it because the kids can watch it over and over and over during the week. And we also mail out the flyers with a little note inside, with maybe some of the wondering questions or just some other things. And parents said that that's really engaging for the kids. So they're not on Zoom again, but they have a chance to watch the video when it works for them.
Well, thank you all so much for these wonderful ideas and for joining us today. I am Shana Peachey Boshart, the denominational minister for Faith Formation in Mennonite Church USA. I want to invite you to visit the Faith Formation landing page at MennoniteUSA.org. You can go to MennoniteUSA.org/FF, and Caleb has put that link in the chat box as well. If you haven't yet signed up to receive the Faith Formation newsletter, I encourage you to do that. There are lots of tips and resources that are sent out in that newsletter, as well as opportunities to join coaching cohorts of Faith Formation leaders. These are groups of 5 to 6 people that get together with me and on a regular basis to share what is happening in their, and sorry, to share what is happening and get support and encouragement from one another, to get ideas from one another, and a little coaching from me. So we found that that's just a really wonderful way to lend support to Faith Formation leaders and to keep me in touch with what's happening and what you all need in terms of resources. So I hope you'll sign up for that newsletter to stay in touch, and also regularly visit the landing page MennoniteUSA.org/faithformation. Thanks so much for being with us today. This webinar has been recorded and it will be uploaded to the webinars page at the Mennonite Church USA website in about a week. Everyone, thank you for being here and have a wonderful rest of the day.